The ABCs of Willie's favorite Atari 2600 games is brought to you in part by Arcade USA, the Atari 2600 Game by Game podcast, Steve Kitchen, the letter S, the number 33, and viewers like you. Thank you.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Willie's ABCs of favorite Atari 2600 games. Today is brought to you by the letter S. S for Space Shuttle, A Journey into Space. Awesome game. It was a hard choice to pick this or my other letter S that I was going to mention, which I'll mention after towards the end of this video. But back in the early 80s, now I grew up with the Space Shuttle. I watched the Shuttle Columbia launch for the first time. And I thought it was really cool looking with that pure white fuel tank on it and stuff. They only did it that one time, I believe. I think every shuttle after that, the tank was brown, the main fuel tank. But the initial launch, it was all white, and it was really awesome looking. Love the Space Shuttle. It was actually a really cool vehicle. Hated to see it get retired, and I was very sad when the Challenger blew up and the Columbia fell apart coming back into the atmosphere. Very sad times. I always wanted to work for NASA, and unfortunately I didn't have enough money to get the degree I needed to work for NASA, so I had to settle for a robotics degree. But anyway, that's here nor there. So let's take a look at what came in the box, and then I'm going on a mission to recover a satellite. Activision's Space Shuttle, A Journey into Space for the Atari 2600. Love this artwork. Iconic photo of the Space Shuttle flying over Earth, heading to get a satellite to retrieve it. Pretty cool. On the back of the box, we have a really cool launch photo. Now, it would have been cool if they could actually put the Columbia, the first launch on here, which had the white tank. That's my favorite photograph of the shuttle launch, is the original Shuttle Columbia launch when it had that white fuel tank right there. That was pretty awesome. Use a joystick controller. Show screenshots of the game. It's a fun little simulation game. A lot of people don't like simulation games on the 2600. I don't really mind them. I really loved getting a hold of Space Shuttle back in the 80s. When this came out, I had just got my car, my first car. I think it came out in 83, and that's the same year I started driving. But this game actually kept my attention enough for me to play and not worry about my car so much and go cruising for chicks. So this got quite a bit of play time back then. So inside of the box, of course, we have the ever cool cartridge that is full of Actiplaque, which is a shame. Eventually these labels are going to be all black eventually. But it's still a cool looking cartridge. I love Activision cartridges. Also in the box, we have some other little goodies in here. This box is loaded with stuff. Of course, we have the warranty card for the warranty. And then we have these little inserts for the Atari 2600 console. And we have this flight manual. Now, this flight manual is actually kind of cool. I love the picture on here. And this looks like the white fuel tank. I can't really tell because it's kind of dark. But what a great photograph on this flight manual. And it's actually pretty thick. I mean, it goes through in pretty good detail on what you're going to be doing, like flight preparations, launch, stabilizing to orbit, docking, deorbit burn, all kinds of cool stuff. This is almost like an educational game. Pretty much is an educational game. Tells you about the mission profile, the flight selection, flight evaluation, your ranking in here. I think best I ever done was probably mission specialist. I never got the pilot one. I would have loved to get the pilot one because you could have got a patch. If you got the commander, you got a really cool looking patch. I didn't get any patches, but it was still cool to try. Love playing this game. Shows these game screens, what you're doing. Basically, keep that little dot right there along this flight path right here. If you veer off too much, the mission is scrubbed. Talks about docking. I mean, this manual goes into a bit of detail. Look at this. This is awesome. I remember reading this manual front and back many times. I used to take it to school with me just to read. Because I like all the illustrations. Wow, it's so awesome. Even talks about orbital mechanics. Now, how cool is that? Activision did a heck of a job putting a lot of information into this game and in this manual. This was really awesome back then, especially for someone who was really into rocketry and NASA like I was. And there's those awesome patches. I wanted to get that one. I figured I might be able to get that one, but never did. This is the really cool one here. It's got the wings and stuff. That's freaking awesome. Earning your wings. If you're able to successfully dock your shuttle 5 times and land with at least 4,500 units of fuel, you're worthy of pilot status. Well, I never did that. Let's see. With 7,500 fuel units in your tank and 6 satellite docks, that's when you can get this really awesome patch. Ooh. Yeah, I don't think I'd ever be able to do that. And of course, there's a cool picture of Steve Kitchen sitting in the shuttle simulator. That's awesome. List of all the acronyms used in the game. The stat messages. Look at this. This is so freaking cool. Got a little message, just like in the space shuttle. I mean, I can't get over how much Activision put into making this game. Oh, this is cool. I like this. All the different pieces. And then, of course, we have this really cool piece that you set on the Atari 2600. It basically tells you how to begin your launch procedure, internal power on, primary backup engine shutdown, all the good stuff. I like how they included these with the game to put on the 2600. Really gets you into the game when they did that. And they included 2 of these little special overlays for the switches on the 2600. This is for the 4-switch one, where the on-off switch was. Then you have your engines. Primary activate, shutdown, backup, activate, shutdown. Cargo doors, landing gear, open, closed, up, down. A status display, and activate, cool down. Of course, the ultimate way to play this, though, is with a 6-switcher. Which I have a 6-switcher, but I'm not going to dig it out to play the game. But basically, this puts all the switches right along the top. I thought this was so cool that Activision did this. It's one of the things I really liked about the Space Shuttle game. This actually got you immersed into a little bit better, having all these neat little things that you can read as you play the game. Pretty awesome. Alrighty. Now it's time to fire up the engines and launch into space. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to get ready to launch into space. Got my Vader 4-switcher here. Going to use my Tron joystick to act like a little flight yoke. Pretty awesome. I'm going to lay down my little overlay right here. It's kind of nice, just right there in front of the cartridge slot. And then we'll use the 4-switch overlay, which fits right down inside of there. Pretty cool. We got the old cartridge that we stick in. And we set our switches for shutdown and bay doors closed. Cool. So now we're ready to start a game. Alright, let's check this baby out. Right off the bat, you can select what flight you're going to do. Do flight number 1, which is basically everything is pretty much handled for you. You just got to guide the shuttle up there, dock with the satellite, and then come back and land. You go to flight number 2, that's where you have to start to control the throttle. You see the T up there. You have to actually move that to where the computer is saying to move it with the little C up above. You see that little upside down triangle? So you got to track that throttle back and forth, and at the same time, you got to keep the shuttle on its flight path as it's going up into space. So it's a little bit more difficult to play. And of course, flight number 3 is like a full-on space shuttle simulation, just like you were going up in the space shuttle, where you got to monitor all kinds of stuff, and it's pretty intense. I'm not playing this one. I'm going to play the first one just to give a quick run through of the game. Now, looking at the screen, It's got some really great colors. I like the effect of the stars moving up and you got the Earth down below that you're orbiting. And I like the STS-101 symbol. And of course, Activision puts their really cool logo at the bottom of the games, which I really like. So right now we're going to hit start. So as the sun rises and the clouds are passing by, we're getting ready for launch. Here we go. Okay. Countdown's begun. This is ground control to Major Tom. Got that. Oh! And boom! So now as I'm going up in the air, you'll see that little blinking square in that lower gauge down there. So I've got to control the flight path and stay on that little line as the shuttle goes up into space. Oh, the solid rocket booster separate. Back when I was 16, I was really enthralled with this game. I remember getting it also for my Atari 800 computer, and I really liked it on the computer because you used the keyboard, and it had a lot more features to it. It was actually pretty fun on the computer. This game was all over the place. I think it was on the Commodore as well, if I remember right. Commodore 64. Going up. Altitude's climbing. 95, almost 100 miles up. I like how they shake the screen to simulate the vibrations of the shuttle. That's kind of cool. And you notice as I get higher up, the shaking is not as bad. It starts smoothing out. Oh, I'm way off track. Way off track. Get back over there. Oh. Insert an orbit. Yes! So now I'm in orbit. So now I got to get lined up with the satellite. Looks like Skylab. It's kind of cool. So you can see my little crosshairs down there as I bring the satellite over. I gotta get into both of my crosshairs. There we go. Whoop. There we go. Rendezvous. And there it goes. I gotta do the deorbit burn so I come back in for a landing. There we go. Oh. A little farther. Okay, now I'm on the glide path. So my gauge has changed yet again. So again, I'm trying to keep my shuttle, that little blip you see there, along the line. And I gotta manage both the X and the Y axis. Whoa, getting way off target there. Ooh. Oh, shoot, get back in the middle. Coming through the atmosphere. Oh shoot, it's flipping everywhere. Uh-oh. Communication blackout. Can't see my gauges. Oof. I love the fire effects. That's kind of cool. There we go. Get lined back up again. Whoop, wrong way, go the other way. Eee. Coming down. Coming through the clouds. All right. Get on the glide path. Ooh, get over there, get over there, get over there. There we go. Up. A little higher. Try and keep between those two lines over that SF side. There we go. There we go. Right in the middle. Little down. Oh, lot down, lot down. And should touch down here in a second. Come on, land. There we go. Brakes! Yes! Awesome! Now that was just a really quick run through of the easiest game. When you play the higher levels, it gets a lot more involved, and plus you can actually stay in orbit longer to capture the satellite more in order to go for those patches. The game could take a while depending on what you're going to do, but just for a demonstration purpose, this was kind of neat. And it is one of my favorite games on the 2600. I'll play this every once in a while. It's actually a really fun game. So let's give some final thoughts on the game and talk about a couple of my runner-up picks. Love that Space Shuttle game by Activision. What a great game. Now some runner-ups. I have a couple. Now, like I said earlier in the video, the other letter S I was going to mention was Space Invaders. Space Invaders took a lot of my time both in the arcades and at home on my Atari 2600. Love that game. I decided to cover Space Shuttle because I wanted to save Space Invaders for an Atari K2600 video, which I'll be doing here in the near future. My next runner-up, of course, is Superman. Oh, yeah. It's a very basic game, but I love the Superman character. I grew up watching George Reeves on the Superman show. Love the Christopher Reeves movies, especially that first one. He's the iconic Superman I think of in my little brain up here when I think about Superman. Really fun Atari game. I'll be doing a special video just on this game as well sometime in the near future where I'll go through the box art and all this other good stuff because I got it complete in the box as well. Anyway, what did you think about Space Shuttle on the Atari 2600? Comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Also, what other games that begin with the letter S did you really like playing back in the day? As always, everyone, thanks for watching. Has anybody seen Commander Willie? Whee! Oh, good Lord. Houston, we've got a problem.